Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Megu, and if you're just joining us, this is Transformative Leaders. And now we shift gears. We talk matters tourism. How is tourism in the country doing? And to help me in this conversation in studio, I'm joined by one Raymond Cheruiyot, who is the founder of Yure Safaris. Karibu sana to the program.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yes, karibu sana.
Asante.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the tourism sector.
Now, if I start talking about myself, that will take quite a while. But I'm a business holder. I run an IT software company, and also I'm running tours and travel a company.
Yes.
That is now 4 years old. And I would say there's nothing that has been more exciting than it is doing tourism in Kenya.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because Kenya is quite an exciting place that many people possibly would not know and have never known.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how is, in your own assessment, having been in the tourism sector now, in your own experience, how are we doing so far?
As it stands today, I think we're doing quite well. It's on that trajectory that we looked at after COVID. We having an upsurge of guests, but while we still, of course, then fighting with the usual that you know about the cost of running that business, you know that, and that's where we are. Yeah, but so far, I would say so good.
Yeah. In this aspect, what about local tourism? Are Kenyans embracing local tourism as much as we would say it's supposed to be?
Yes, that one I can confidently say, because now based on the bookings that we've had and what we have towards April and the holidays, I would say 60% of our bookings are coming from the local, and that tells you then Kenyans are embracing. Totally different from the time when we came in. I think there had been reliance on importation of tourists into the country, but the locals, yes, they are quite embracive on getting into destinations that are within Kenya and of course East Africa.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if that is the case now, it means the cost has now changed, because there was a time when you mentioned tourism,
yes,
Kenyans think about other people from other countries.
No,
is it about
I think it was just perception then. I think the biggest fight that we're having currently, of course, is on the cost of living, which has gone up, and everyone knows. And it has been explained to before by everyone that we are facing an upsurge in the cost of living. But in terms of the cost of traveling and all that, I think people previously had perception of it's quite expensive to go to Masai Mara, or it's quite expensive to go to Diani, or to go to northern Kenya. But we have many people right now who've embraced that, and they come to realize, oh, it's already expensive. And how people are circumventing this is you don't wait for money to travel. If you get your 1,000 shillings or 2,000 shillings, then you keep depositing on that for you to beat. But if you wait for 100,000 shillings to be in your pocket, that will never come. And really, that is the mistake that most people were doing before.
Thinking that it's all about money.
Yes. I mean, what would it cost you to go to, for example, go to Mbosele? If you have your 13,000 shillings to 18,000 shillings, then you would be able to visit that particular site. And what would it cost you to go to North Har? Possibly around 44,000 shillings for 5 days. So if you check on that, it comes about 8,000 shillings per day. All right, which you save over time. But the experience that you get is enormous. And what people normally, the mistake, and what I've had people saying is, am I thinking about food, or I'm thinking about traveling?
Yes.
What people fail to understand is traveling is part of that food that you're talking about, because it goes to the mind, and it's part of building yourself, rejuvenating yourself. Because if you're working 24/7 and you want to do things differently in the coming days, then you don't get to achieve what you want to achieve. Money come and go. If you ask anyone, even that person who earns call it 5,000 shillings per month,
yes,
where that 5,000 shillings has gone, they would never be able to explain to you. But if you had memories that you're building, and you've been giving yourself 50 shillings, contributing into your travel kitty, that would give you an enrichment in terms of knowledge, in terms of building your mind, in terms of memories.
Yes.
And that is what most people, most Kenyans, always would run away from.
Yes.
Just being able to feed the mind, feed the soul.
Yes.
Without not food. It's not food that you go to a supermarket and buy, but it's what you see, and it's what you see that goes into your mind. It's what goes into your mind that builds your system.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll still continue on that aspect of local tourism, but we'll do that after the break. We'll talk about planning. We'll do that after we come back.
Right.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. We continue on the conversation concerning local tourism and the aspect of planning. How has agencies helped people in Kenya, especially in Kenya, to embrace local tourism? Is it a matter of planning ahead, or just mtu anaamka anasema nataka kwenda Masai Mara? How is that?
No, I understand. Like I said, what Kenyans have done right now is embracing. This a program that is run by most organizations who are running to operator business, or what we call Lipa Pole Pole. Lipa Pole Pole basically means you get the cost of travel to a certain destination. So you want to go to Coast, or you want to go to North Horr, or you want to go to Masai Mara, whichever destination that you want to go. Get the cost that would fit into the clients, but then the client then would keep depositing. Get 1,000 shillings here, get 2,000 shillings here, they keep depositing until the time when they're supposed to travel. Now this comes a lot with a lot of trust. And how do you get to trust a tour operator? You get to trust a tour operator who has a license. What license is this? You're talking about the TRA license, the Tourism Regulations Authority license. You trust a tour operator that is subscribing into some body. We have many bodies, not many, about 3. We have Tour Operator Society of Kenya, there is TUSC. We have KATA, and we have KATA. And we have the body that covers the tour guides. So how then to trust is you'd ask a customer whether first the customer would, as a tour operator, are you TRA compliant? Are you subscribing to any organization that is covering tour operators? And once you have those two, it means then you've been vetted, because there's vetting that goes on. For you to get a TRA license, then the regulatory body ought to have come to you, and they've seen you, and they've done the assessment. All right. Once that has happened, they now get your track record running. That's when the customer would say, okay, fine, I'll be depositing this much into your account, and I'd love to travel on this particular date. All right. And because you're interested in running business, then you must keep the trust, of course, that the customer requires. So you just assure that when the date of travel comes, then it's going to come umechu pesa. You ought not to have used the customer's money and not able to deliver what that, because that kills your business.
Yes.
And yes, so many Kenyans are embracing the lipa pole pole to circumvent the cost of living.
Yes.
Of course, we have those customers who prefer to keep accumulating in their own account, because there are also the customers who say, okay, fine, how much do we need to travel to this particular destination? When they keep accumulating that. The only pitfall in that is that as a tour operator, I then would not be able to do a booking for you until you made a commitment. All right, because it's threefold. There's a customer, there's a tour operator, and there's the destination. So the destination means you have space. You're making a booking so you can go to a particular destination. So then there has to be a confirmation between the tour operator and the destination that truly there's a booking that is coming. And how do you do that? The booking can only be confirmed by way of deposits. Right. So you would be doing that. So if a customer says, for example, they want to be accumulating by themselves, then I want to travel next week. Then that doesn't give a guarantee, especially during peak seasons. All right. So if you're planning ahead, it becomes very easy, and you identify a trustworthy tour operator who then will be helping you in running your business.
Yeah, speaking of peak seasons, when are the times when tourism in the country is at peak? And also, when we talk about peak seasons, are we talking about a surge in local tourism or external tourism? Both of them coincide?
These are convergent points in terms of the tourists coming in and the locals during a moment like the well-beast migration, right? But locally, the peak season comes in during long holidays or holidays when kids are on holiday, because most Kenyans want to build memories for their children, and therefore then that is seen as being peak. And it runs with the school calendar. But the peak season for the trips, say to Masai Mara, would be starting in possibly in July, moving forward until the end of September. And if you realize, that also covers a part of the holidays that are coming in, or that are always there within. December is a long holiday, and that is when most people are traveling. That is when most people have done the savings for travel, either by themselves or with tour operator that they've identified. And that is what will constitute what you're calling the peak season. People normally ask, why is the cost high during the peak season?
Exactly.
And not, I can see that question coming behind. It's because, it's the rule of demand.
Yeah.
The higher the demand, the higher the cost.
Yes.
It also happens during the low season that you can travel with a low budget. And most people who don't want to get entangled during the peak season would say, okay, fine, I want to go in one of those weekends to a destination when it's not peak, when we are on low season or on shoulder season. And that's all.
Does it also speak to the aspect of competition amongst tourist agencies? Is there competition?
No, we don't have competition in among us tour operators. We have what we call collaboration. All right. Okay. Obviously, what happens is when a customer is looking for a package, they would call 2, 3, or 4 tour agents. A customer calls and say, hey, I want to go to Masai Mara, give me the cost of this and this and this. And that is as far as it goes. All right. By the time they're reaching to the 4th, they already have gathered information about exactly which destination they want to go. Because they would know about the camp, they know about what vehicle to use, they know about how many days they're going to be there. So by the time they reach to the 4th, they will be asking specifically, how much is it to go to Emayan using a Land Cruiser for 3 days, 2 nights. All right. Now what happens is when we discuss and talk about experiences that we're having, and you get to realize that one customer has called all of us.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
And we normally would say, let's just wait and see. Whoever the customer is going to pick, then that's it. But you realize also we have a body. Like Ure Safaris belongs to Tour Operators Society of Kenya. Tour Operators Society of Kenya is made up of about 150 plus tour companies, who essentially you would be seeing them as being competitors.
Yes.
But really we are collaborating. So we lay our strategies together as a team, and we market ourselves as a team. And when we present ourselves, for example, to a body like KTB through Magical Kenya, then we don't go as individual. I don't go as Ure Safaris. We go as Tour Operators Society of Kenya. Now that is collaboration. There's no competition there. And we absolutely, I've not come across tour operators who are saying they are competing, other than the normal. I mean, if you have a tender that has been advertised, then there's nothing wrong with you bidding and Ure Safaris bidding. Whoever then wins, then we celebrate. And we go back in the back office and we celebrate them. We applaud them. We say, hey, keep pushing.
Yes.
That is the way to go.
There's that camaraderie.
Yes. And we don't have competition, really, so to speak.
Yes.
Certainly then competition possibly would come when we have rogue tour operators who are interested in changing or cutting deals behind the scene, and they have nothing to lose altogether. And so we don't have competition.
You've raised something very important about rogue operators, tour operators. There have been cases where people or tourists have been duped into paying in a certain amount of money, and the tour operator now vanishes.
Process.
How is that impacting the business?
It is, of course, negatively impacting on business, because when we're marketing Kenya as a destination.
Yes.
And if we have rogue tour operators, and rogue tour operators are those who are not licensed, who are hell-bent in cutting deals. It pains us in a very bad way, so much so that when you put down your deal, say in safaribooking.com, because that is where most guests would be going to pick or search for which tour operator to use. The moment they then realize that he's a Kenyan, then becomes a red flag, and there has to be scrutiny on that. And about instances, I've had a discussion someday with the tour, with TRA, the Tourism Regulatory Authority, someday, just a casual talk. And what I got to understand is we've had guests there was a guest who lost $15,000 last year. Wow. Out of someone who presented themselves as a huge company running a business, then they just disappeared. When they went to check, when they reported to TRA, they realized, these guys don't even exist under the sun. So it affects us as business, and but I think with the knowledge that we have right now, with the TRA coming to live and being abrasive on all these matters, I think then we would be heading in a direction that is guiding the tourism sector for all the good reasons that there ought to be. This is one of those challenges that we would have within.
Are there other challenges that you go through as local tour operators and it's impacting on your operations negatively?
Yes, we've had instances where we've done booking for some Zungu from US who is interested in coming with a family. And I'm going to cite a very good example, and that example is Masai Mara. When they decided that the park fees is going to be $200 per day per person. Wow. That is huge, and it was coming in from $80.
That is a huge surge.
That's a huge surge of difference. Then getting back to the client and saying there's been a shot on the cost of accessing the park that affects the business in a very big way. There's even comes an instance of like mistrust. I mean, out of the blues. And that takes me to a point where we are saying we would need to have a clear functional process of engaging the stakeholders within the tourism sector. And why that is important is because tourism is the only sector in Kenya that doesn't have grassroots
it's
structures.
not devolved.
It is not devolved at all. So the same way in the health sector, we have those, what do you call those people who are
community health
community
workers.
health workers.
Yes.
Community health workers work very well with the health sector. But in tourism, it ends at that. It's just at the national level. So what needs to happen is then the government possibly would need to take advantage of the tour operators who are yearning to assist and make the operations much better for the tour operators in Kenya by involving them on the policy making table. So then we'd be very happy to, for example, to see, like I told you, we have a body that is covering about 150 tour operators.
Yes.
That's called Tour Operators of Kenya. Sitting on the table, on a policy making table that is deciding on what things would need to happen, what needs to be done, just so that we have that development of operations and we beat the challenges that we'd have. The other thing is on getting facilities that are working well, and I think that goes back to decisions that are being made.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. If you cross over to Serengeti, Serengeti has designated points that are well structured, where guests or tourists would go and take a rest. If you get toilet facilities, they have an eating point that is well done. They have internet accessibility, so that then most people in this era would want to keep saying, I'm in this particular destination, I'm doing this, so that people also get encouraged and all that. But we have that in Kenya. Go to Savo, we don't have. And this is a challenge that we will throw to Kenya Wildlife Services.
Yes.
That if we get to have all these particular facilities, that it encourages even the locals, knowing that when I go to Savo, for example, or I go to Amboseli, they've done something very nice. If I go to Meru National Park, are there facilities that you can use, even like toilets that you can run to and be comfortable in using them? Masai Mara recently did it, and we were very happy. For the first time in the history of Masai Mara, they opened their toilets for guests last year. All right. Whereas it's in one central place, that's a plus. But can we have that replicated?
Yes.
So that it encourages. Can you imagine? Masai Mara, for example, is you can take a stretch of 100 kilometers running through the park. If you need to use a facility and you have to go for 100 kilometers to use that facility, that becomes tough.
Yeah.
So if we have those challenges being addressed, then we will be able to beat some of our competitors.
Yes.
And our direct competitor in East Africa is Tanzania.
Tanzania, yes.
Yeah. And I think they're taking advantage of that. Otherwise, everything else is good, even in terms of the e-citizen embracement that came in recently.
Yes.
I think it's making life much easier from my point of view, and I'm talking this out of experience, that when our clients go to the park and they've already prepaid their park fees, then it's much smoother. Instead of going to stop at the gate and wasting time, you only need to confirm that you have made payment and you proceed without a lineup. Yeah. And I think it's been streamlined right now. And I'm happy that I was part and parcel of that process of streamlining the e-citizen operations. And it's all good.
When we talk about tourism and Kenya positioning itself as a premier tourism destination, what is the role of tourist operators in positioning Kenya as a premier tourist destination?
Look, our work is to market the destination. But there is a body that has been given that responsibility to market Kenya. And that body is the KTB using Magical Kenya.
Yes.
So then Magical Kenya would go out there and give us much information about what is in Kenya and all that to attract. The role of a tour operator comes in then to convert, because there's marketing part and there's a sales part.
Okay.
So once you've marketed, so what? The tour operator comes in and then get access, convert those inquiries into sales, and then they come into Kenya. Right. So the role of marketing, whereas every tour operator do their own marketing, but there's a body that has been legally put in place to market the country.
Yes.
That's Kenya, and that is Magical Kenya through Kenya Tourism Board. So our role come in also enhancing, because then we meet with the Magical Kenya team and be able to discuss on matters, destinations, and what needs to be done, and unearthing those destinations that haven't been that most people don't know about.
Yes.
And that becomes our role in scouting.
Yes.
How do we get help? How we need to get help from this is we need to then have guidance from KTB and as Magical Kenya structure, that we need you in running, doing these discoveries, and these are the incentives then that you get as a tour operator.
Yes.
And so that is where our role would come in as tour operators. And we have discoveries. We have. Do you know that you don't have to go to Dubai to experience desert, like to have that desert experience?
Yes.
We have Chalbi Desert in North Horr, for example, that instead of taking a flight and going and taking your fans to Dubai, then you can take a drive, a long drive, a very exciting drive, up into Chalbi and be able to experience that. And if you are in Chalbi, you can actually, anyone who's gone to, I've been to both. I've been to Dubai desert, I've been to Chalbi desert. And the experience is just the same. In fact, Ron is awesome. And you also get to learn about cultures around those areas. There are other places where you would have other experiences in Samburu, for example, going through the slides on the rocks. That's one hell of experience.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is our role. Our role, we go get to our destination, then tell the world. Now, what has simplified life is the social media that we get to tell. We talk about it.
Yes.
And because it's a mass, right now, Facebook, for example, is being accessed by even those old mamas back in the village. And I'm telling you this because the times when you go to the village and an old mama is telling you, I see you on Facebook.
Yes.
And that tells you the channel of information has been opened up.
Yes.
And therefore then takes advantage of all this information that we are posting and talking about different destinations to attract people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your parting shots. Yes.
All right. My parting shot is to encourage Kenyans to embrace what is in Kenya and to embrace what is what we have in East Africa.
Yes.
And not to get discouraged in terms of cost. There is a lipa pole pole process that they would get themselves in. And hey, go out and visit.
Asante sana.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming to our show. We look forward to hosting you again or talk about more on tourism. We have been talking to Raymond Cheriot, who is the founder of Ure Safaris, and I hope you have learned a thing or two about local tourism. This is where we end Matters. Good morning, Kenya, today being a Monday. And it has been fantastic, and we hope you've had a good time. My name is Mike Migwe. Continue enjoying the rest of your viewing.